This is otherwise state champ Alex Thomsen. This is Josh Elwer from the University of Northern Iowa, and you're listening to Potentially Dangerous on IA Wrestle.
Hey, is this heaven?
No, it's Iowa.
From high school to international wrestling, on the mat and beyond, this is the Potentially Dangerous podcast with the guys from IA Wrestle.
If you're a fighter, you like a fight. If you're an American, you like a fight. If you're an Iowa Hawkeye, you know you're going to get a fight.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes and all your podcast-friendly apps. And follow us on social media platforms at IA Wrestle. Time to strap it up and get to the show. Welcome back to Potentially Dangerous. I'm your host, Tony Hager, along with my co-host, Ross Barczyk, this week for episode 93 of the IA Wrestle Podcast Network, I guess you could say. We threw in a new podcast called Shots Fired by Mac Ryder and Eric Shares. You can check that out on iTunes, all your podcast-friendly apps. We might be adding a new one, just kind of spur of the moment today. Talking with some people. It will be Iowa Hawkeye Wrestling Club, 100%. Really just focused on the Iowa Hawkeyes. We do talk a lot about them on this podcast because that's where a lot of our ties are, but this will be with an athlete from Iowa or a coach every single week. So more details will come out of that. And after a big weekend in Omaha, or not Omaha, Lincoln. At first I thought it was Omaha, but it's an hour past Omaha. It's Lincoln. I've never been there before. I'm a big fan of the Huskers. I have been in the past. So I've never had a reason to go to Nebraska. We have a website in Nebraska, so I need to make more of an effort to make it out to Nebraska. But I would say the state of Iowa had a successful World Team Trials. Always can be better. But what do you think, Ross? I mean, if you could give a grade for the state of Iowa in Lincoln, how do you think it was?
That's a good question. A grade on it? Maybe like a B. Like you said, the juniors, maybe was hoping to see a little bit more out of them. And obviously only one guy made the senior world team. That's down from, in the past we had Ramos, Metcalf, Varner all making teams. You go from having three guys with an Iowa tie on the team to just this year with one guy. It's a little bit down, but like you said, there's still a lot of positives coming out of this.
Yeah, let's just start with the juniors, then we can move on to the seniors. So first thing I want to really talk about would be, let's start with Alex Marinelli. So Alex Marinelli makes it through the challenge bracket and has a couple really great matches. He's got such heavy hands, and his takedowns are fine. It's just his leg defense, maybe his little just freestyle defense in general from parterre is just not very good, because a lot of people, some people know, but he didn't practice any freestyle or Greco in high school. He's only been training freestyle for a year now. So he has no idea how to defend anything. Obviously, he's got Tom and Terry in the room. He's had Metcalf for a little while to learn a little bit. But I would say making the Junior World Team Trials Finals is a pretty good feat for somebody that hasn't been around freestyle.
Yeah.
How do you think he wrestled?
I think Alex has done a great job. You watch, I think the biggest measuring stick is how he fared against David McFadden, the Virginia Tech All-American 2 years ago. And you look, I think there was growth even from his U.S. Open match with McFadden to what we saw in Lincoln. There's a little bit of separation. He's getting a little bit better. He's getting a little more comfortable and learning the, I guess, intricacies of freestyle. And I even caught up with him. We saw him at the banquet, so that was right between the two big events there. And I was asking him, I said, so that was your your first big freestyle tournament. What'd you think? And he said, there was just so many things that I was learning. And, when I was out there and somebody got hurt and, then we had to restart, and we restarted in parterre, and Marinelli didn't even know all the rules. So he was like, I didn't know what was going on. And Terry was like, no, we're supposed to start in parterre. So it's just really funny to hear, Alex go from he's a guy that obviously he knows how to take people down, but he didn't know what he was doing. And to go into the Junior World Team Trials Finals, with just so little experience is really encouraging for the guy that could be 165 for the Hawkeyes next year.
Yeah, I think that he looked really good from his feet. And, I guess Mark Hall he's not human in my book when it comes to Russ. You can't compare him to other people. He just is so dominant, not only in folk style, but in freestyle too, right? I mean, he's world-class level, world champ. I mean, this guy, you just can't compare him. Marinelli just has a long ways to go to be a guy like Mark Hall. I think on both styles, maybe. I mean, in freestyle, definitely. I mean, I don't know if he ever will, but folk style, he can slow Mark Hall down maybe a little bit. He showed a little, some good defense from him, but just too much.
The other, it's kind of encouraging though to see, for a while there we had Anthony Valencia, Mark Hall, Logan Massa there at 74 kilos for the U.S. And you were kind of wondering who was going to step up at that weight. And, I'm hoping Alex really takes, runs with this. Maybe he comes back next year and makes a run to win that spot. I think he'll still be eligible to make a junior world team next year too. So, he's obviously not going to be the same level as Mark Hall. You kind of hit on that. It's kind of hard to replace somebody that's a world champ, but a lot of the positives I took away from the junior tournament this year were some guys that have a future at making that team, next year.
Alex Thomsen, I talked to him after his true second match, and just watching the match that he lost, he wrestled completely different that match than I can't remember any matches he won after that, but he did say, I was nervous. I built myself up too much as far as in my head for this match, the first match. But when I got out there, I just was more fluid, and it showed. That's what I was thinking, and for him to say it too, it was reassuring to hear that he realized that he was just probably too nervous for it. Which, I mean, God, the kid's in high school still, and he's out there wrestling. Guys in college, and at this level, it's a little different than wrestling somebody in Iowa here where he's dominated. So he's not Alex Thomsen isn't the man at the junior world teams trials. He's just low man on the totem pole, and he got true second. So I think in the end he's going to come out of this and look like, hey, this was a pretty heck of a tournament for me. I think I showed that I am on that level. I do think he needs to get a little bit stronger from his feet. If you go back and watch his matches, almost in all of his matches, he just seems a little undersized upper body. So if he does go over an international and they start getting those underhooks, he's not going to be able to fight out of them as well as the other guys because of those, just not strong enough yet, I guess, compared to the guys that he was wrestling anyways. So needing to get a little bit bigger. Let's switch to Gomez because Austin Gomez, I haven't got to watch him compete live in person. So this was the first time I've gotten to see him. And
not the first time. We did see him wrestle in the Haya he was quite a few years ago, but I just wanted to make sure. Didn't want to give you
Aegon.
That's right, man. Iowa against the world.
Well, I think he's just completely changed. A different wrestler then than now as far as freestyle goes. And I was just really impressed with the way that he went through that tournament. And no one expected him to get to the finals, and he's going to be, depending on what weight class he goes, he could be a game changer for him right away. I think he's really good on his feet, and he's willing to take risks. I mean, he was going after McKee, where McKee has this head pinch that is world class, and he just kept on going after it. And my opinion, Ross, is I think he got screwed. I think he got put on the shot clock. He was winning on criteria. He was the one taking all the shots. He was making the risk. I mean, his dad, Hector, was like, stop freaking shooting, dude. Stop freaking shooting. Do not get in that position. And Austin's like, screw it, dude. And he just kept on going after him. And he was the one pushing all the action. And I think he got put on the shot clock. way too late. I can't remember how much time was left. Gave it up, and then he couldn't do anything. I think he got screwed.
Well, to put it into the match perspective, it was McKee won the first one. Gomez answered back with a pretty dominating performance that second match. So yeah, it's coming down to the best of three last match. There was over a minute. I just rewatched the match tonight to make sure I was fresh on it, Tony. And you say you heard his dad yelling at him not to shoot, and one of the things I noticed while watching that match is when he got in that head pinch in that last match, one of the times McKee was really working for it, and Gomez did a good job fighting it off. But when he got up, it was kind of like it felt to me like, man, that probably had to take a lot out of Gomez just to be putting all that, all that stress into not getting rolled over there. But as far as did he get jobbed, I'm gonna have to go against you.
Maybe I was the only one. I guess I think okay. Well, I guess I'm not the only one because Kevin Dresser agreed. He agreed that he was messed up, and which I didn't have my camera ready for. No one else apparently had cameras for, but Mike Zadok freaked out on some officials on our side of the mat that I don't think he was even the official on the mat. He was pretty upset and can't repeat the words that were being said, but there was some frustration there. I just feel like at freestyle there's just so much subjectivity sometimes, and you put them on the shot clock, and it's in the ref's hands a lot.
I was going to say, it's a pretty shitty way to figure out who's going to be on your world team. But, I think the thing was with Gomez, he was taking quite a few shots there, but I think what it came down to was controlling the center of the mat. I think McKee did a better job of keeping his hips inside. And I think that's what the ref ended up going with how who he awarded, who's going to be on the shot clock. So, to me, I think that's kind of what it came down to. Granted, I wasn't watching it in the moment, so I kind of already knew what happened, and I went back and watched it today. And, if I'm watching it knowing the end result, I can see where that ref is seeing McKee's. He's controlling that center. And, international wrestling, sometimes they kind of favor that more than who's taking more shots. And like you said, it's subjective, and it comes down to your official a little bit. But that's my take. I know Gomez, he was going for it, but I just think McKee did a better job controlling center.
If you go back and count the shot ratio, it won't even be close. It won't even be close in that match.
McKee wasn't in on the legs or anything like that, no. But if you take the shot and the guy gets in a head pinch, you got to try to defend it. Just like he's defending the shot, but to me, it's not an offensive position. You're creating an offense from defense. I don't know. I think he got screwed. But that was easily, that series was the most exciting part of the juniors. I thought that the juniors finals was way too long, and I kind of found it boring, to be honest. Besides that matchup, I just felt like it might have dragged out too long, and then I don't know. Maybe I was just in a hurry to get out of there. I don't know. I felt like it just lacked production, and I heard a lot of people, they like the senior production. The production from USA Wrestling was a lot better for the people in house. Looking by the pictures, I was not there, so I can't tell you the difference. But I know you've watched a couple of videos here today and some matches, and what are your thoughts on the production from juniors to the seniors? Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious. They stepped it up for the professionals, the pros, whatever you want to call them, compared to the juniors. But obviously, not being there, I don't know if it really took away from my experience watching, but I know from being there, it's night and day, just experiencing that firsthand live. So the other thing I wanted to touch on with juniors, what did you think of Jacob Warner? I don't know if he goes by Jake.
I talked to a lot of people that were super impressed by him, just the way that when you look at him, he just doesn't look like he's mean at all. He's just kind of like a little calm, collective, like Max Lyon type of guy. So if you're from Iowa and you know Max Lyon, just the way he kind of collects himself, Jacob Warner kind of is that guy. But you kind of when that whistle blows, all bets are off. So I mean, he beat some quality dudes in that tournament.
I'm a believer in his talent. Obviously, did really well on the cadet level, but I was sleeping on him. I gotta admit that I did a poor job promoting Jacob Warner because he went out there and just wrecked Nathan Traxler. I think he's also an Illinois boy too. Obviously, he made the finals going up against Colin Moore. Guy's got a lot of experience now on the junior level, college level, but I was sleeping on him. And I even heard from coaches like, "Hey, Jacob Warner's good right now." And I was kind of like, yeah, I can see it a little bit, but I was still blown away. I didn't expect that level of production from him. So that was something that I really was like, wow, that's he might be able to compete next year if they needed him, which I don't know if they will. But
I thought Jaron Glosser had a good tournament as well. Paul Glenn had a really good tournament. Kanan Storr. I was the Storr-Lugo match I was a little surprised by. What do you think of Kanan Storr's performance?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's something we should have worked a little bit more on to see, where he was at. Because he kind of, coming off his U.S. Open performance, he looked really good, battled tough against Lugo. And here we are, month and a half later, and Lugo kind of put the beating, hurting on him. So, I mean, I don't know if it was a Lugo adjustment, if it was Kanan Storr, just something wasn't right, was he not mentally there? It's completely, different, that there's something that had to happen that I kind of want to know from his perspective. What did he think happened that was so different from his match in April?
Yeah, I mean, that match looked different. I mean, Lugo's a freaking beast. A lot stronger than Kanan Storr for sure. So I don't know if he was just able to slow him down a little bit, and he was kind of thrown off by maybe some of those heavy hands. But Lugo's definitely going to be a good get of somebody that is definitely transferring. I know Piles tweeted out that Lugo is not going to Iowa, but I don't think that's off the table. I mean, whatever stock you want to put into, Piles and do what you wish, but from what I was told, that Lugo is still definitely very interested in Iowa. I thought it was for grades that he wasn't going to come in, but that's definitely not the issue. He's got lots of opportunities out there. Anybody will take Lugo. It's just a matter of it's going to be a good fit for Lugo. Matt McDonough was coaching him up. He was hanging out with the Hawkeyes this past weekend. So I think Iowa has a definitely in the driver's seat to land Pat Lugo, and it could happen here soon.
I heard a rumor through the grapevine. Speaking of Pat Lugo, what's he up to? I heard Iowa State's trying to throw their hat into the ring. I don't know, what stage of the process Pat's in, but I heard, Kevin Dresser and the staff, they're interested, and they're looking at 149 for them, and they're saying, hey, we got some openings here too. So next year.
Well, let's switch to senior stuff here. We could talk about Pat Lugo for quite a while too. There was more to the juniors than I, just started talking about the juniors. I wasn't expecting to talk about juniors so much. Try to keep the podcast short tonight for you guys. So seniors, last week we kind of compared Gilman to Ramos's right out of college. Like, what was Ramos's shot of making the world team. No one even gave him a shot. He makes the world team. Okay, is Gilman the same as Ramos? Ramos won national title. Gilman didn't get it done. So you factor that in. You gave him 15% shot to win. I gave him 30%. I gave him more than Ramos, strictly because of his freestyle background and accolades in that realm. But I'm not gonna lie, when I saw that Gilman was in the finals after seeing his bracket, I was pleasantly surprised that he was able to go through that gauntlet. Lots of matches, and then to get it done against Tony Ramos was pretty damn impressive.
Last 2 years, when USA Wrestling's asking for my NCAA picks, I'm always picking Gilman, always getting that homer label. Then, come the senior world team trials, when I'm a huge believer in Thomas Gilman freestyle, and I picked against him. So, man, I was sleeping on him too. Him and Jacob Warner, man. The Hawkeye Wrestling Club deserves to give me a little shade. I can't believe you're letting me off the hook.
Well, last week, I got your points, right? I mean, this bracket was loaded, so to go everything that he had to go through, I guess, losing, not reaching his goal. How would he rebound? Commentary had him ready for sure. Tony Ramos agreed. He just looked on point. I was very impressed, and be interesting to see how he adjusts to international competition now. Focusing from freestyle, folk style to freestyle. Where does he rank against all these other people? And this what kind of really frustrating is some of the coaches got emails from fans, or not really fans, just people that don't probably like Iowa, or this whole comment about Higuchi. He said the Jap. He said the Jap. I guess that was what was said in an interview. You can check it out on USA Wrestling's YouTube page. And I don't guess. I think listening. I've listened to it 3 times a day, and I don't want to say that I've never used that word. I mean, I've used it, and I just feel like it was almost like, I won't say it got taken out of context or someone's feelings got hurt a little bit, but that's. I guess I shouldn't defend Thomas Gilman, but I don't also feel like in that heat of the moment, saying that doesn't make him a racist, I guess. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think Gilman. I don't think he's a racist, and I don't think he goes out of his way, and I don't think he's going to go out of his way publicly to label himself that way. I mean, what kind of person does that? No matter how big of a heel you are, how much of a villain you want to be, I think that's a little bit of a stretch to assume someone would do that. Don't really know Thomas personally. I don't think either of us really do, but we've had interactions with him. Not just wrestling, just kind of being around the wrestling room and kind of just talking to him here and there, talking to his teammates. We know he's a good guy, right? So it's not, I think it is a little blown out of proportion. It definitely wasn't the right thing to say. And that's why he issued an apology.
Yeah.
And whether you believe it was warranted or not for him to do that is also another thing, but
yeah, I was surprised to see one from the university. I guess I was surprised to see one. Maybe next time he gets interviewed, say something. But to see a release go out, I was surprised. Everyone's focused on that right now, and they're not focused on what he just did, and that's unfortunate for Thomas Gilman. So maybe we're just being homers of the state of Iowa, but.
So going into his matches, though, I do want to talk a little bit about that. I think one of the, when I was giving you my 15% chance for Gilman to win, one of the things we talked about was, I said Tyler Graff was going to be the hardest guy for him to get through, and I didn't know if he'd be able to do it. And it was 1-1 criteria win for Gilman. He actually got a push out. I thought it was going to come down to shot clock point there. But one of the more impressive things I thought of Gilman in that match, and then later on in the Tony Ramos best of 3 finals, was how well he was working that underhook position. I don't know if you noticed that, Tony, but it just really slowed those good guys down when he just dug in there. And that was something that I think, really, I don't know if we really saw him do it a lot in college. He was able to get to the leg so easy, but when he's wrestling those really tough guys, he pretty much just shut them down.
He's also a guy that, takes risks too. So that was my biggest concern coming in, is we saw him get down at the last chance, but he was able to come back twice. I mean, Gilman almost didn't make it through last chance. So to kind of just see him, and Ryan Morningstar, I think, had an Instagram post. I saw something about how much he has improved in the last 3 months, just mentally and his preparation or something like that. And, I think that's really good for Iowa fans and, United States to see that Thomas Gilman is there. You do need those heels, I guess. And he's gone to a new level, and you got to be happy with that, I think, if you're an Iowa fan.
If you're an Iowa fan, you're also happy. That's 4 years in a row the Hawkeye Wrestling Club has put a world team member at 57 kilos, and they've done it with 3 different guys. That's, it's one thing for Jordan Burroughs to represent Nebraska for however many years, but to put 3 different guys at the same weight in a stretch like that speaks to a different kind of, accomplishment. And I know we haven't produced a world medal there, but the fact is, Iowa's done a really good job at producing the best guy at that weight for the last 4 years now. So that's kind of a testament to Tom and Terry, what they're doing there still.
And I want to move on to Kyven Gadson, that Snyder matchup. I talked to him after the Open, and he knew he wasn't ready. He knew he wasn't ready to take up Snyder. But I feel like, do you feel like he looked like he was ready? Have you had a chance to watch the matches yet, or no?
I didn't catch all of them. I think I saw the. Good.
I mean, when you're thinking of, how did Kyven Gadson do? And we're talking about going up against one of the best wrestlers we have in the world right here on U.S. soil, and to beat somebody in the best of 3, for Kyven to go through the challenge bracket, and he knows he's not on his level. So he's already kind of in his mind, he knows he's not on his level. So it's going to be tough for a guy to do that. I texted him today, and he knows there's lots of work to do. So he's still motivated. He's still motivated to make a world team in the future. He's not going away. So I think Iowa fans, I mean, there's not very many people that are not a Gadson fan, happy to see that, Gadson is taking this well, and he knows that he's not on that level yet, and he's got to keep going. So,
I
think it's good that he made it through that turn.
He tweeted something today, and it had him, a picture with him beating Snyder at the NCAA finals again, and then right underneath that was a photo of him laying on the ground after Snyder beat him this weekend. And, it was a real positive thing, and that's something that's, really, I think that speaks to how mentally tough he is. He knows what he's up against, and he's not afraid to say, he's going to keep coming at it. He's going to keep coming for the spot. Iowa State fans should be, ecstatic to have a guy that's, number 2 on the team to Snyder. Hopefully he gets some opportunities to, get some more international experience. I think that'd be pretty good for Kyven. And, hopefully he sticks around Ames. I know that's kind of where he was before maybe, but I think that's kind of the talk now. And the question will the new CRTC be able to keep Kyven around? That's probably the big one, don't you think?
Yeah, that's. I guess that's probably a question I should ask him. What his plans are. I think when I talked to him on Takedown Radio, he said that he wanted to get through. He wanted to get through this event. Then he was going to reevaluate where he should be training. Kevin Jackson's been rumored to going up to Minnesota. That doesn't sound like that's going to happen. So the Kevin Jackson, Kyven Gadson, going out west, that could come to light. We don't know where that's at. So Kyven Gadson said that he's been an Iowa State guy his whole life, a fan, obviously a wrestler. So it's gonna be hard to leave him, but Kevin Jackson is his guy. So does he continue to train with Kevin Jackson out of the Ames high school wrestling room? I don't know if that's the best thing for him. He needs to be around college kids to get those feels. I would assume that Kevin Dresser would would keep him around, but they're not going to be able to. I don't know. I just don't know if they're going to be able to make it happen, I guess. So we'll see where Kyven Gadson goes. I wanted to touch base on this too with the seniors. I saw this. The David Taylor with kind of he threw a little bit of a fit, I guess you could say, and that's just something we haven't seen from David Taylor. So I was kind of surprised that people aren't talking about that a little bit more. And when Dake got beat, everyone was talking about how Kyle Dake was, throwing a fit, and Coach Cole was throwing a fit, but no one's really talking about Sanderson, throwing a chair, and David, pointing to Zadok. I'm not sure what was said. What are your thoughts? What's your takeaway on that whole deal? I mean, if I'm David Taylor, I would say I'd act the same way, but I mean, I'm how long has this been trying to make a world team and hasn't been able to break through? Just a lot of emotions. He put something out on Instagram I need to listen to just to kind of see what his thoughts, where his mind's at right now. But not Mongolian protest type stuff, but still, I just something I wasn't expecting from David Taylor and Cael Sanderson.
No, that's especially for people that completely revel in calling Tom and Terry Brands lunatics on the mat. Penn State, and it's a select few of their fan base, but you see it all the time on their message boards and on Twitter. So it's really funny to kind of contrast that. Where at the same time, I'm not too worked up over what Cael did. I know. And Taylor, I know they're pretty frustrated at how things have been going. But to me, I don't know, David Taylor was it's kind of like what you said with Kyle Dake. It just kind of looked silly with him out there. It looked like he was, a toddler throwing a fit when he kicked that brick, the challenge brick. I was just kind of like, I don't know, it just kind of felt really – I don't know. I felt like an out-of-body experience. Like, what am I watching? Am I watching two senior-level dudes wrestle, or I don't know. It's I don't know, really just strange.
I felt like I was watching an NBA game where everybody complains about fouls and things not going their way, or or a wide receiver not catching the big pass, and they complain to the refs. Like, I felt like I was watching that, and that's just something we haven't seen in our sport. People, really. At a younger age, you see high school kids always like putting up their arms, and so it was really unexpected to see that from David Taylor. And these guys are, all we do is have fun at Penn State. Well, it's really fun to win, which you guys do. Penn State does a ton of winning, right? So when you lose, not so fun, right? You can't really sell fun when you're losing. So Matt McDonough was on a podcast called Warrior Next Door that just started, and really Matt McDonough. If you haven't listened to that podcast, definitely give it a listen, because he's kind of off the cuff a little bit. I definitely tell people to listen to Matt McDonough on Warrior Next Door. So have you had a chance to listen to that yet?
No, but Matt McDonough is easily one of my top all-time favorite Hawks for giving people crap about them not having fun. He's posted a photo this weekend of him and Gilman, and they're standing next to each other. He's got his arm around them. They're taking like kind of a serious picture. And then the next picture is, them making a funny face. And I'll never forget his time when he went to the Urigan over in Russia. And he got beat first round, and he walked up to TR Foley and said, "Hey, I'm having fun." Just right after he got beat. So McDonough is the best at when it comes to just like giving it right back, having a good time with it. I love him. Good dude.
So I guess wrapping up. Go ahead.
Wrapping up seniors, though. Got to give you props. I'm picking Zane over Frank.
Hey.
Did you remember you did that?
Yeah. No, I think I did that on Takedown Radio. We had those picks there too. He just, I think that was with Jordan Oliver. It's just completely kind of flipped the script a little bit. So that was pretty cool to see too. I picked Ramos to win the Open. I think I picked him to win the trials too. Hard to beat him best of 3, and that's what makes that just that much more impressive. I think Eric Shares had some stats where if you're sitting in the best of 3, do you know what those stats were? Do you have off the top of your head?
No, but
something
it was 3 out of 20. I think it was 21 and 3. I want to say for some reason.
Yeah, 20 out of the last 23 best of 3 finals has gone to the person sitting in the finals. So in the last so many years, and before that it was different, I guess. Yeah,
it was the last 5 years. The guy sitting that didn't have to do the mini tournament. Yeah, I think he won 20 out of, like you said, 24, whatever times. And the crazy thing is out of the 3 times that had happened, Tony Ramos was one of those guys that came through, beat Sam Hazewinkle, and then 3 years later, he's one of the guys. Is he the only guy that I guess Zane came through and beat too? So 2 guys did it this weekend.
Just 2 guys.
It's just kind of crazy that Ramos is one of the few to do it, and then happened to him. I don't know.
Well, I want to do. Let's end the show with a Q&A section. So if you're listening here, just got a few people. We didn't get started on time, so I apologize for that. Hopefully, if you're listening to this on podcast, you got your fix for Iowa. Russell potentially dangerous this week. But if you got any questions for us regarding the trials or past the trials as far as recruiting goes, we'll try to get them answered. So comment here in the section. But as we're hopefully getting some questions from fans, I wanted to have our focus on the schoolboys, the schoolboys, schoolgirls, I guess. Greco, I thought we had a pretty good team. Ended up, finishing where, didn't break the record, I guess you could say. And then, this week we got Disney duels going on and cadet duels. So this week there's a lot going on for Iowa wrestling. And, what do you think of this, the cadet team versus the junior team? What do you think of our chances are?
I think the cadet team is something we haven't really seen yet. That's kind of always the biggest mystery on how they will perform. Usually it's really hard to gauge how, especially if you're a young team. It seems like we graduated quite a few of our cadet All-Americans onto the juniors this year. So the cadet team, and I haven't seen a roster, so it's really hard to weigh in there. I think we'll have a good junior team. In some news you found out today, do you want to say what you found out for who's going to be on the junior team for sure?
Well, we know Joel Shapiro. We know Shapiro's going to be on the junior team. He's at Disney Duels right now. He's going to go to the junior duels at 195 pounds. Then he's going to go to Nebraska team camp. Then he's going to Fargo camp, and he's going to Fargo. I mean, this dude has been busy this summer, and he's been busy. He's been busy at I want to say eating. I asked his dad, what the heck is he doing? Is he bulking up? Is he taking protein or whatnot? And his dad kind of just made me realize, well, he's growing up. He's always been growing up. His dad's 200 pounds, 6'1", and here's some kind of how Joel Shapiro has grown. Right? Okay, in 7th grade he was 105 pounds, 8th grade 115. 9th, 126, 10th, 145, 11th, 160, and now he's up to 195. So the last 3 years, he's gained 25 pounds in the off season, roughly on average, I guess. That's probably not good math, but I mean, he's gaining weight. Yeah. So, I mean, Jay Borshow. So, 195, 220. I don't think 220 is probably out of the question. That'd be putting on a ton of weight, but he's just growing. Nothing different, I guess you could say. So, Joel Shapiro putting in the work and uncommitted right now.
I have a quick Q&A for you. How mad would Lars be if we teased out some of this Fab 50?
Well, we've been waiting for the Fab 50 for about 50 years. So,
I was figuring the biggest debate is probably going to be who's 1 and 2. Those guys in the top, the 6 through 10. So I was going to ask you, what if we release 3, 4, and 5? Such a random tidbit, but it's something. It's better than nothing.
Let's release 5, 8, and 15.
5, 8, and 15. Let me write it down so I can pull it up.
You get two top 10s.
The only thing I didn't know is if he's going to do a little bit more tinkering, but we can say who we got right now.
Who's he got right now?
All right. Number 5 is Iowa City West, Nelson Brands.
Number 5. Okay.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
Okay, keep going. Keep going.
Number 8 is our boy Joel Shapiro. So that's a pretty big jump from Joel. I know he had a pretty big jump last year too when he did all that damage out at Fargo and Disney Duels. And then number 18 is the guy that was injured last year for the state tournament at Webster City. He's a heavyweight, Cooper Lawson. I believe he was a state runner-up as a sophomore in 2A. Pretty good season for him.
So Nelson Brands at 5 makes you wonder who's going to be above him. There's just a lot of good guys in the state. Nelson Brands. You see him in folk style. Is he building on his resume? I think he's got to have a really good Fargo. If he has a good Fargo, then I think he could, which I think he will. I think that he will pass some of these guys who I believe are above him. In my opinion, I think he should, but he hasn't had that. So if he has a good Fargo, I think that will happen. This is what I'm curious is, I guess let's not say it, but do you think that Brody Teske, is it a 50-50 flip? I mean, he's been flipping between Brody Teske and Alex Thomsen, number 1 and number 2. Can you flip-flop these? I mean, I don't think – and you got to keep Alex Thomsen after what he just did in Lincoln.
I'm going dark horse pick at a Sibley O'Cheaton, Trey Shuck, number 1.
Trey Shuck. I saw the Shucks this weekend, and those guys are just always smiling. And Trey Shuck is definitely excited for the Fab 50 because we promised him a number 1 spot in the Fab 50. So good sport.
After war at West Gym. Yeah.
After war at West Gym. So
no. To your question, I think I don't know. I tried to stay out of that one as much as I could. I didn't want to, put too much of my influence on what those guys, the rankers and the other people he consults with. I think they do a pretty good job on giving him the feedback he needs. That the man that is Lars Underbaki. But for my money, I still got Thomsen 1. But it's not my call. So. I mean, I'm not saying that's final either, but it's. Yeah. I think we've kind of made that our thoughts too. So.
I would say before the junior trials, I would have had Teskey at 1, Thomsen at 2. Just for what we've talked about in the past between these two wrestlers. Thomsen's just a better freestyler, and that's a feather in his cap. So hopefully we can see them wrestle sometime, so we can really find out who the pound for pound is. But that is not going to be happening anytime soon. But I had another thing off the top of my head that I wanted to ask you. What the heck was that? I can't remember. Anyways, well, thanks everybody for tuning in. Apologize. We started about half hour past what we said we were going to do. Obviously, I'm in my home, in my basement tonight. Usually I'm in my office. So a little technical difficulties. I had to put the kids down to bed, got to bed late. But appreciate you coming on here, watching us live, and obviously listening here on the podcast. Make sure you check out Shots Fired Podcast. They've got 2 episodes down now. Mac Ryder, 4-time state champ from Don Bosco, 3-time All-American from Minnesota, dropping tons of knowledge bombs. And then you've got Eric Shares, 0-time state champ and our 1A ranker. So I think as we work ourselves into the summer and get us into the high school year, I think you're really going to enjoy that podcast. And then be on the lookout for a new podcast coming from some out in Iowa City that we're going to be bringing to you, that you're going to be able to get to hear from some of the coaches from Iowa, the athletes, and I think you're really going to enjoy that too. So we'll be adding that to our network, and hopefully some more stuff for you coming to IA Russell. Got anything else, Ross?
I just I love how you described the Shots Fired podcast. You got Mac Ryder dropping bombs, and then there's Eric Shares. No. No, that's good. And they say they got some good material this week. So let's see if some stuff gets called.
I really shouldn't actually poke the bear that is Eric Shares. That's just a bear that I should not be poking because I know what he's capable of. So I should be careful because he calls me like the dad of IA Wrestle. Sometimes I talk these guys off the ledge of what they're going to do, and then sometimes I go off the ledge sometimes. So it's a fun little crew we've got here at IA Russell, and we appreciate everybody that listens to this, goes to the website daily. We are growing, and we're not slowing down. We're always looking to improve and beat the next person. That's in our field, and that's we can't do that with getting better and your feedback. So if you got any questions, concerns, shoot us an email, shoot us a direct message on Twitter at Hager Tony, at Ross Bcheck, and always at IA Russell. For Potentially Dangerous, this has been episode 93, and we will be back next week with hopefully an exclusive interview with TJ Siebel after the cadet duels, and previewing the juniors and what we got for Fargo coming up. So be on the lookout for that. Thanks for listening.